The boardroom was silent until the numbers hit the screen, and Alex Carter said, "This can't be happening." His voice cracked as the projection revealed months of losses. Investors shifted uncomfortably, whispers cutting through the air like knives. Maya Brooks leaned toward him, whispering, "Alex, stay calm." He felt sweat dripping down his neck, every eye in the room drilling into him. Victor Hale smirked from across the table, his expression smug, as though he had been waiting for this collapse. Alex's chest tightened. He had sacrificed nights, friendships, and nearly his health. And now, it looked like it was all for nothing. A heavy silence fell, broken only by the echo of Victor's slow clap. He said, "You tried, Alex. But dreams don't feed markets." Rage and humiliation burned inside Alex. He wanted to scream, but his throat closed shut. Maya grabbed his arm, grounding him, as he realized this was the moment everything would change. Alex staggered out of the boardroom, the city lights outside blurring through glass. His breath came shallow, chest tight, as if the weight of every failure pressed down on him. Maya followed, her heels clicking fast against the marble floor. She said, "Alex, don't let them break you." He shook his head, muttering, "They already did." The lobby's polished tiles reflected his slump, a broken man staring back at himself. Passers-by looked, some with pity, others with disinterest. He pressed his palms against the cold glass door, watching traffic roar past. His dream, once blazing, now flickered weakly in his chest. On the sidewalk, Alex felt the night air hit his face, sharp and cold. The honk of cars and chatter of strangers blurred into background noise. Maya walked beside him, steady but tense, saying, "This isn't the end, it's only the start of the fight." Alex's jaw clenched as he muttered, "I gave them everything, and they laughed at me." His fists tightened, veins pressing against skin. Maya's hand brushed his arm again, grounding him. He whispered, "I don't know if I can keep going." The city loomed tall and indifferent, glass towers reflecting his broken spirit. Hours later, Alex sat alone at a dim cafe, the smell of burnt coffee clinging to the air. His laptop glowed faintly, numbers bleeding red across spreadsheets. He muttered, "Every road ends the same." His reflection in the glass beside him looked like a stranger, hollow-eyed and beaten. The barista glanced over, uncertain, but said nothing. Alex buried his face in his hands. He whispered, "Maybe Victor was right." The words stung his tongue. For the first time, doubt felt heavier than hope, and silence pressed harder than noise. The night stretched long as Alex walked home under flickering street lamps. His shoes scraped against cracked pavement, each step heavier than the last. He thought of the sacrifices, the endless nights, and the faces of people who had believed in him. He whispered to himself, "I can't let it end like this." But even as he said it, fear gnawed at his gut. A cold wind swept through, rattling the leaves, carrying away fragments of his confidence. Somewhere in the darkness, he felt both lost and alive, standing on the edge of something that had not yet revealed itself. The morning sun broke through Alex's blinds, stabbing into his tired eyes. He had barely slept, haunted by Victor's words and the humiliating silence of investors. As he dragged himself to the kitchen, Maya called on the phone. She said, "You're not finished, Alex. You still have fire left." He laughed bitterly, answering, "The fire's nothing but ashes now." Her voice sharpened. "Stop drowning in doubt. You owe yourself more than surrender." Alex stared at the unpaid bills stacked on the counter, his hands trembling. He whispered, "Maybe I was never cut out for this." Silence filled the room, heavy and accusing, until Maya replied softly, "I know you better than that." Later that day, Alex sat on a worn park bench, the cold wind brushing against his face. Families passed by, children laughing, life moving as if his world hadn't collapsed. He pulled his coat tighter, thoughts spiraling. An older man sat beside him, Mr. Raymond Clark, a retired entrepreneur known for his blunt wisdom. He said, "You look like someone carrying the world on your back." Alex smirked weakly, muttering, "Maybe I dropped it already." Raymond chuckled dryly, then picked it up again. No one else will do it for you. Alex turned, eyes narrowing, as the words stung with truth. Raymond leaned forward, clasping his hands as though weighing memories. He said, "When I was your age, I lost everything twice, thought it was the end. But each fall was only training for the climb." Alex looked at him, disbelief etched in his face. He muttered, "And you expect me to believe failure is a gift?" Raymond's eyes hardened. "It's the only gift worth having if you learn from it." The park sounds faded for Alex, his mind clashing with doubt and hope. He whispered, "I don't know if I'm strong enough." Raymond replied, "Strength isn't given, it's forged." As the sky dimmed, Alex walked alone, Raymond's words echoing in his head. He felt the tug of despair battling with a flicker of resolve. A small cafe window caught his attention. Inside, a group of young entrepreneurs laughed over sketches and notes. Their energy hit him like a memory of why he had begun. He pressed his hand to the cold glass, whispering, "That was me once." His reflection stared back, hollow but searching. He thought of Maya's faith, Raymond's blunt challenge, and the faces of those who once believed in him. His chest tightened with a dangerous spark of hope. That night, Alex returned to his apartment, the weight of the day pressing but no longer crushing. He set his bills aside and pulled out an old notebook filled with messy sketches and forgotten ideas. His hands trembled as he flipped through the pages, each one a reminder of the vision that once burned inside him. He said softly, "I can't let this die." His voice grew firmer. "Not yet." He scribbled furiously, notes bleeding across paper, ideas reconnecting like sparks to a fading fire. The silence was still heavy, but now it hummed with possibility. For the first time, he felt alive again. The following week, Alex pitched to a small group of potential clients in a cramped co-working space. His voice cracked as he presented slides, hands shaking slightly. One man leaned back, unimpressed, while another woman typed on her phone without looking up. Alex forced energy into his words, saying, "This idea can change how businesses connect with their customers." Silence met his claim. He swallowed hard, doubt clawing at him. Maya sat in the back, nodding encouragingly, but even her support could not erase the sting of rejection in the air. He finished with a weak smile, already sensing their verdict. When the meeting ended, the clients stood quickly, offering empty smiles. One said, "We'll think about it," but his tone was final. Alex's stomach dropped. Outside in the hallway, Maya caught up with him. She said, "Don't let it crush you. They don't see what I see." Alex muttered, "Maybe there's nothing to see." He leaned against the wall, head low, heart pounding with shame. Maya's eyes softened, but her voice carried steel. "No, Alex, you are the only one who can prove them wrong." Her words struck, but self-doubt still screamed louder than hope. That night, Alex walked alone through rain-soaked streets, neon reflections painting the ground. He muttered to himself, "Every door slams before it even opens." The rejection gnawed at him, louder than the traffic. His phone buzzed with a message from Victor. "Saw your pitch flop today. Told you dreams don't pay bills." Anger flared, hot and bitter. Alex clenched his jaw, fists tightening. He whispered, "I'll prove you wrong." Yet the rain washed over him, heavy and cold, like the weight of failure pressing harder. His resolve flickered like a fragile flame in the storm. The next day, Alex returned to his apartment, soaked notebook spread across his desk. He slammed one shut and shouted, "Why does nothing work?" His voice echoed in the small room. Papers fluttered to the floor. "Andy sounds day news." He sank into his chair, burying his face in his hands. Maya knocked on the door and stepped in quietly. She said, "You're tearing yourself apart, Alex." He raised his head, eyes red, muttering, "Maybe that's what it takes." Maya placed a hand on his shoulder, her voice softer now. "Or maybe it takes remembering why you started." Later that evening, Alex sat on the floor, surrounded by pages of failed ideas. His laptop blinked with unpaid invoice reminders, a cruel reminder of reality. He whispered, I can't keep doing this, but the words felt hollow. His phone buzzed again. Another message from Victor. Told you, kid. Quit before you bury yourself deeper. Alex's jaw tightened, his chest burning with rage and despair colliding. He whispered, "Not yet. Not like this." The room was silent, except for the hum of the fridge, a fragile quiet where defeat and defiance wrestled for control inside him. Alex arrived early at the office, only to find his key card no longer working. Confusion turned to dread as he pressed again. Inside, voices echoed. He peered through the glass and saw Daniel Reed, his trusted partner, sitting with Victor Hale. His stomach twisted. Daniel had papers spread across the table, their company's documents, their ideas. Victor leaned back, smiling. Alex whispered, "No, it can't be." Daniel's laughter carried, sharp as betrayal. He said, "We'll be stronger without him slowing us down." Alex felt his chest tighten. Years of friendship shattered in one instant of truth. Alex pressed his forehead to the glass, breath fogging the surface. Betrayal burned hotter than failure. He whispered, "Daniel, how could you?" His voice cracked, even though no one could hear. Inside, Daniel slid a folder across to Victor, eyes gleaming with ambition. Victor said he never had what it takes. "You do." Daniel nodded, his tone sharp. "I carried his vision long enough." Alex's fists pounded the door once, then fell limp. The city noise behind him blurred into silence. His best friend had become the sharpest knife in his back. Alex stumbled away from the building, his chest hollow. He replayed every memory of Daniel, late nights building plans, the promises they made. He muttered, "All lies." The street blurred as his vision swam with rage. Maya caught up, her face alarmed. She grabbed his arm, asking, "What happened?" Alex's voice shook. "He sold me out, my own partner." Maya's jaw tightened, fury lighting her eyes. She said, "Then you fight harder, you fight smarter, you don't let them steal what you built." Her words clashed with his despair, but inside a spark stirred. Later that day, Alex sat in a cafe corner, his face buried in his hands. Maya sat across from him, her voice calm but firm. "You always said this dream was bigger than you, so prove it." He looked up, eyes red. He whispered, "I don't know if I can." She leaned closer, her tone cutting through his doubt. "You can, Alex, because no betrayal can erase the fire inside you." He stared at his reflection in the window beside him, broken but burning. For the first time, his grief turned toward something sharper, resolve. That night, Alex sat alone at his desk, the city skyline glowing outside his window. Betrayal still carved deep wounds, but his mind no longer spun in despair. He flipped through his old notebook, his hand steady now. He muttered, "They can steal the company, but not the vision." His pen scratched across pages as he began reimagining his idea. His voice grew firm. "This time, I'll build it stronger. This time, no one will take it away." The storm of betrayal had left scars, but those scars now forged armor around his will. The night before the pitch, Alex sat with Maya in the dim glow of his apartment. His notebook was open, filled with scribbles that now looked like battle plans. He said, "Tomorrow decides everything." Maya leaned forward, her voice steady, "Then fight like it already belongs to you." His chest tightened, fear mixing with determination. He whispered, "What if they don't believe me?" She shook her head, answering, "Believe yourself first, Alex. That's what they'll see." He nodded slowly, inhaling deeply. The room felt like a war camp before the storm. Morning light spilled across the glass towers of the city as Alex entered the investor boardroom. The long tables stretched before him like a battlefield. His hands gripped the folder tightly, but his voice carried strength when he began. He said, "This idea is more than numbers. It's about changing lives." Some investors exchanged skeptical glances. One cleared his throat, asking, "And why should we believe you when your past says otherwise?" Alex felt the sting but steadied himself. He answered firmly, "Because I've already been through the fire, and I'm still here." Alex clicked to the next slide, his voice growing steadier with each word. He said, "This company failed once, but failure taught me resilience. It stripped me down to what mattered most." He pointed at the chart showing a new growth strategy, eyes burning with conviction. "I know what doesn't work. That's why I know what will." Maya, seated quietly in the back, watched as the room shifted. An older investor leaned forward, interested now. Another scribbled notes. The silence was no longer suffocating, it was listening. Then came the hardest question. An investor with sharp eyes said, "What makes you think you can beat men like Victor Hale?" The name sliced the air. Alex's heart thudded, but he stood taller. He said, "Because men like Victor are chained to the past. I'm not here to repeat it. I'm here to build the future." His voice rang like steel. Silence followed, heavy, but electric. Investors exchanged glances, something shifting in the room. Maya's lips curved into the faintest smile as Alex finally stood unshaken. As the pitch ended, Alex closed his folder with steady hands. The room was silent for a long moment, then the lead investor spoke. "You've convinced me," he said. "This isn't just a business. It's a fight worth backing." Relief and triumph collided inside Alex, his chest rising as if he could finally breathe. Maya's eyes glistened with pride. For the first time, the weight of doubt lifted. Alex whispered under his breath, "I'm still standing." The moment wasn't just survival, it was transformation. The battle had turned, and this was his reckoning. The morning sun spilled into Alex's apartment, golden light stretching across the floorboards as he stood silently at the window. The skyline shimmered, not as a taunt but as a promise. His chest rose slowly, as though breathing for the first time in years. He whispered, "I made it through," the words trembling but real. Maya entered quietly, balancing 2 coffees, her smile soft yet steady. She said, "You didn't just make it, you proved you belong here." He took the warm cup, his hands no longer trembling, and nodded faintly. He said, "But it still feels fragile, like one wrong step could tear it apart again." Maya's eyes glowed with determination. She replied firmly, "Then build it stronger, brick by brick, step by step." Alex exhaled, his chest lighter than before, hope stirring where fear once reigned. Later that morning, Alex sat across from Raymond Clark in a quiet diner tucked on the corner of the street. Neon signs flickered faintly against the glass, the smell of fresh coffee filling the room. Raymond stirred his cup slowly, eyes sharp and calculating. He said, "I heard about your pitch. Sounds like you finally found your voice." Alex leaned back, his lips curling into a small grateful smile. "I nearly lost it, but failure taught me how to stand again." Raymond chuckled, his tone both proud and warning. "Now the hard part begins, living up to those promises." Alex leaned forward, voice steady as stone. "I won't waste this chance, not again." Raymond lifted his mug with a nod. "Then here's to rebuilding stronger than before." Their cups clinked softly, a toast to redemption born from ashes. Back at his desk, Alex worked tirelessly, his once chaotic notebooks now reshaped into organized plans and blueprints. Each line he drew, each note he scribbled, carried the weight of purpose instead of desperation. He muttered, "No shortcuts this time. No illusions, just the truth." Maya sat nearby, her laptop glowing, her face set with focus as she typed. Their silence was not empty. It buzzed with energy, the air alive with intent. He lifted his eyes briefly, saying, "They thought I was finished, but this is just the beginning." Maya didn't look up, but her lips curled faintly. "Good," she said firmly. "Let's make sure they never doubt you again." The silence returned, but now it felt like fertile ground ready to grow something extraordinary. Weeks later, Alex pushed open the door of a rented workspace filled with new faces. Bright light spilled through tall windows onto desks cluttered with sketches, laptops, and coffee mugs. The team turned as he entered, their eyes filled with both curiosity and hope. He spoke with steady confidence. "We're not just building another product. We're building something that matters, something that outlasts us." Heads nodded, the spark spreading quickly. A young engineer raised her hand shyly, voice uncertain. But what if we fail? Alex paused, his faint smile carrying both truth and strength. Then we learn. Then we return stronger. Failure isn't an ending. It's the lesson that makes the next attempt possible. The words landed heavy, but instead of fear, they lit determination across their faces. For the first time, Alex stood as the leader he once doubted he could be. That night, Alex returned to the rooftop of his building. The city spread beneath him, lights glowing like constellations scattered across the ground. The wind pressed against his face, cool and steady, but his heart no longer trembled. He whispered to the night, "I lost everything once, and I found myself in the ashes." Memories of Victor's mocking sneer and Daniel's betrayal flashed through his mind, but they no longer carried the same sting. Instead, they were scars that proved survival. Maya stepped beside him, her hand slipping easily into his. She said softly, "This is only the start, Alex." He turned his head toward her, his eyes burning quietly with fire. "I built myself back. Now I'll build everything else." Together they looked out over the endless skyline, the future no longer a weight but a horizon waiting to be claimed. Months later, Alex pushed open the glass doors of his new office. The hum of keyboards, the shuffle of papers, and the sound of ideas bouncing between people filled the air. It wasn't noise, it was the music of progress. Maya stood waiting at the entrance, her grin wide. She said, "Can you believe this all started with you hunched over a notebook in your kitchen?" Alex let out a quiet laugh, replying, "I can. Because I refuse to let the notebook be the end of the story." He walked through rows of desks, each filled with young energy. For the first time in his life, the dream lived outside his mind. It pulsed in every conversation, every smile, every determined glance he saw. Pride swelled in his chest, heavy but warm. That evening, the team gathered in the small conference space. The projector lit the room with slides glowing behind Alex. He stood tall, no trace of the man once broken. He said, "We've only begun. What we build here will outlast us. It will shape futures." The room erupted in applause, energy surging like electricity. He scanned their faces, young men and women burning with belief. For a moment, he caught Maya's eyes in the front row, her pride shining brighter than words could express. His chest tightened with gratitude. Once, he had begged for belief. Now, he carried enough to share with all of them. This was not just a company. It was a movement born from ashes. Hours later, as the office lights dimmed, Alex's phone buzzed. He answered, and the lead investor's voice came firm and calm. "You've exceeded every expectation. We're expanding our support." Alex froze, hand tightening around the phone. His breath came fast, chest swelling. He whispered, "Thank you for giving me this chance." Hanging up, he walked to the window, staring at the endless city lights. They shimmered like promises waiting to be kept. He whispered again, this time to himself, "This is the breakthrough I dreamed of." The man who once drowned in rejection now stood in the glow of vindication. No longer broken, no longer doubting, he was steady, unshaken, alive. Days later, at a grand industry event, the air buzzed with chatter, cameras flashing under bright lights. Alex mingled with eager entrepreneurs, his presence magnetic. Then, across the room, he saw Victor Hale. The older man's smirk flickered when he noticed Alex surrounded by admirers. Victor approached, his voice cold. "Didn't expect to see you still standing." Alex met his eyes without flinching. He replied, "Steady as steel, get used to it, because I'm not going anywhere." The crowd shifted, drawn toward Alex's calm confidence. Victor's jaw tightened, his arrogance cracking under the weight of Alex's triumph. For Alex, the encounter wasn't victory over a rival. It was the closing of an old wound. On the final night, Alex climbed to the rooftop where months ago he had stood broken. The wind rushed past, carrying the hum of the city below. Now the skyline stretched before him, not as a reminder of how small he was, but of how far he had come. Maya joined him quietly, her hand finding his. She said softly, "Do you see it now? What you've built?" He looked at her, voice steady. "I built myself first. That's why I could build this." They stood together, hand in hand, watching the city glow like a sea of stars. Alex closed his eyes for a moment, breathing deeply. The fear was gone, replaced by a quiet fire. The future wasn't uncertain anymore. It was his.